Hi, I'd like to chat with you for a few minutes about a topic I'm calling new distractions coming. The bottom line about this particular chat is that I've got some good news for you. This preoccupation, this complete domination of the news and everything for the past year and a half, this COVID thing, is soon to be a secondary issue in your life. We've all been impacted by it. It's a pandemic that has impacted the world, no question about it. Um, Sadly, I believe that it's been largely mismanaged and not handled right. And to this day, I don't think at least our government and other governments are actually handling it in a proper way. But I've got good news for you. This pandemic, even though it will always be in the background, and there'll be other variants and viruses coming and filling in, and again, it's up to each of us individually, I suppose, to decide on what you believe and what you don't believe. I've personally changed a lot of my viewing and information intake by largely not watching or being a part of mainstream media anymore. And certainly, I don't watch cable TV. And so, many of the voices that were, in my opinion, poisoning our brains and taking and hijacking our common sense. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not seeing those, and I'm not getting that input. So it's a bit of a break for me. The good news is that even though it will always be a background issue, and and pandemics and viruses and medical issues around the world I think are going to escalate somewhat, but they'll always be in the background, I believe, for a while. Because I think there are some new distractions that are coming that are absolutely going to be front page news, and they will be the new news items that will keep you well focused on the impact that they have in their own particular way on your life. Primarily financial. The financial world is literally, and I've said this in past videos, is literally teetering on tipping so far that we either have major corrections happen in certain markets or certainly some crashes. And some of the experts are warning us that what's coming is going to be catastrophic. It's going to be quite large. They're comparing it to previous crashes and depressions and things that have happened in the past. I would say this at least. I think you're possibly going to see the introduction of a digital currency. You're going to see certain world currencies, certain governments, their currency is no longer of any real value. And so you may see the world switching fairly quickly to a more of a digital currency. And this is all in keeping with the agenda the globalists have for a worldwide reset. And our particular prime minister is bent on seeing us be one of the first countries signing up and stepping up to the reset agenda. And personally, I think it's going to be the demise of Canada, but nevertheless, so you're going to see currency changes. You're going to see, I don't think the inflation can be ignored much longer. It's well north of 5%, maybe growing higher. The feds will tell you that they think it's around 2.5 to 3.5%. I think it's well past 5%, and you just have to do some very little research and find out that the inflation is a bit of a loose cannon right at the moment. It's like a runaway train, so to speak. And so, at some point, the feds in the states, in particular, are going to have to raise interest rates. Now, if you have a 2% mortgage right now, and the feds even raise interest rates 2%, you'd say, well, that's not very much. But that would literally double your mortgage payment. So if you were paying $1,000, $1,200 a month, now you're going to be paying $2,000, $2,400 a month for the same mortgage, same situation. The other problem is at the other end of it, if the real estate market takes a hit and there's a bit of a bubble popping where the values of homes comes back, and becomes a little more realistic because affordable housing in Canada right now is crazy. I mean, so, so much of the population cannot afford to get into the real estate market because of the crazy high prices. So if the bubble was to pop a little bit because interest rates went up, so now a house that you thought was worth maybe 600,000, maybe it's worth 500,000 now. But then that's closer to the mortgage that you have because so many Canadians and Americans are so highly leveraged on their mortgages that the shrinking gap, that shrinking margin of what we call equity, all of a sudden a person gets to the point where they make the decision that, I don't have enough skin in the game right now. So I think I'm going to bail on this because my payments have gone way up and apparently the equity I was, trying to defend has shrunk and has gone down a little bit. So I don't know why I'm barely staying alive now because this is all going to change the job market. You're going to see the stock market absolutely hit, and there will be some major corrections and maybe worse happen in the stock markets around the world. And so it's just one thing after another. Um, I think another item that's going to become very much front page news is you're going to start to see food shortages. Now, we're kind of like in North America where food is a lot more available than it might be in other parts of the world. But nevertheless, food shortages I think, are going to hit the world. And again, I think it's going to be a manipulated and fabricated emergency that there probably won't be the food shortages that they're claiming, but certainly the distribution flow and that can all be controlled. It's a fearful situation when all of a sudden food can't get the distribution it needs and they're saying it's because of this or that, and all of a sudden you're going to your store and you're finding that the items that you've always seen and always taken for granted isn't maybe available, uh, at least not in the amounts that they were available. But the pricing, because of the inflation thing again, the pricing of food all of a sudden becomes a big ticket item. So you've got now people going to grocery stores and their grocery bill is starting to rival mortgage payments. And those are just the essentials. And then if we see a correction in the stock markets and everything else, well, then it'll hit practically every pension fund that's out there. So now the pension funds aren't performing and getting the returns they once had, and that's how they maintain and keep up with their obligations. So all of a sudden, pension funds are under pressure. Now the governments who've been printing money start to tighten down on the printing of money, and then you'll start to see the banking sector all of a sudden starting to limit credit. So now the multiple businesses and even individuals who rely on credit, because really credit makes the world go round. All of a sudden, credit is not as available as it once was. So that then tightens up the market. People stop spending and start trying to save. Well, they have nothing much to save because things are starting to cost more. So I think you're also going to see another soon event, and it's going to be a climate change scare that says that individuals, corporations, and such, governments, whatever, um, you all have a footprint, a carbon footprint. And so we're going to set standards that each entity at its own level, be it governmental, corporate, or individual, we're going to set limits as to how big your carbon print can be. And so for you individuals, for instance, Joe Citizen, we're going to dictate how much you can drive your car in a month. We don't want people just driving and traveling and everything and creating a huge carbon footprint that they don't need to do. So we're going to set limits on what that is, and we will find ways of taxing you or setting fees for anyone who decides to become too free in their traveling. So all of a sudden now you'll have a climate uh, control emergency. You'll have food shortages. You're going to find there's problems at the bank. You're going to find that interest rates have gone up. Stock markets have been affected. And then you throw in the whole geopolitical thing where certain governments including the United States and the mess and the chaos they're in right now. But then you've got war zones in the area in the world that are just on the verge of really busting loose, and I would say Iran and Israel is right there, and they're already at an incredible boiling point, and that just has to cut loose. And then you've got the Chinese threatening all kinds of things, and so I just wanted to say to you a little bit of good news here is that COVID's no longer going to be your big distraction. There's going to be some new distractions that come on the market that make COVID look like a walk in the park. And like I said, we'll probably always have those medical pandemics in the background, always running, but they won't command the kind of attention they once demanded, because all of a sudden there's going to be some things in our lives that are just completely rechanged and rerouted and set a new course for the way things are going to be in the future. So I really don't want to be a doom and gloom guy, but I'm just giving you the facts. If I don't tell you, somebody else will. We are about to see some brand new distractions that are going to come on the scene that are going to impact you on different platforms and all various areas of life. And but God bless you. I'll keep doing these videos, trying to give you some information, and I hope it's helpful. Again, we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.